Crusader Kings 3 Flavor Pack Fate of Iberia has just launched today, and with it we get a ton of changes to the Iberian Peninsula across in-game visual assets, more customization options, as well as a brand new struggle system that does a great job of both reinforcing certain gameplay styles and breaking the rules all at the same time. In this video today, I want to break down some of the high points of the Fate of Iberia DLC to give you an idea of whether or not it's worth picking up for you and your next playthrough of Crusader Kings 3. Now, in my typical fashion of upfronting the knowledge within this video, let me open up by kind of giving you a quick breakdown of my thoughts. And you can jump ahead to any point in the video that interests you by using the chapters in the timeline and the description. But my first 15 or so hours of Fate of Iberia has me absolutely loving this flavor pack. Now, I really enjoyed Northern Lords DLC, but it didn't really change the game as much as Fate of Iberia does. Well, I mean, for the geographical region, of course. And I'll go into that more in the next section when I talk about the struggle system, but the struggle system is amazing. Simply put, a problem with CK3 is that you can do so much across your first or second ruler, which sort of front loads the gameplay, resulting in the mid to latter portions of your campaign feeling a bit, rinse and repeat. That can become dull for a lot of people. The struggle system fixes this and does a badass job of creating a lot of tension throughout your playthrough to either work towards or against hostility, patching the holes of a sinking ship or dropping 40-pound kettle or cannonballs through the hull to sink it faster, whatever it is. So it always feels like there's some sort of task to push you forward. You're not resting on your laurels, waiting for your super child to come of age and take over for you. And you certainly can't expand nearly as fast or as strong in other parts of the map with the changes to holy wars in the region linked to struggles. Further, the system then allows you to take advantage of certain actions that would otherwise be bound to specific lifestyle choices depending on the phase of the struggle. Honestly, I think it is the most important DLC above even Royal Courts, especially at its price point of just $7, which excites the shit out of me for the possibility for this system to be retooled or even simply modded into other parts of the world with, say, maybe a Byzantine, Seljuk Turk struggle or anything else of the sort. I mean, I would personally love a Byzantine DLC with adding a lot of quote-unquote Roman style of government into the Byzantine culture, but the struggle system could fit in just as well. So that's my quick analysis of the DLC, and I'll go throughout the video expanding upon these points further, but I wanted to give you an idea up front so as to avoid any spoilers. And if you do end up picking up the Fate of Iberia DLC, you can use the link to my Nexus Store in the description and pinned comment. Nexus works directly with the developer to get you a Steam key and also gives me a cut of every sale that works significantly towards helping keep the channel alive, as well as my brand new puppy fed. But let's get started here on my video on the Fate of Iberia DLC review. Booting up the game, we have a brand new historical bookmark here with the Struggle of Iberia. Now, this is an 867 start point, and we get 5 new characters to choose from. And with that, we get a whole bunch of different cultures and religions to choose from as well. That is, I think, actually part of the patch that comes alongside this. Now, unfortunately, I've been given a key for Fate of Iberia and I can play Fate of Iberia, but I am unaware of what is actually bound to the patch and what is bound to the DLC. I think for the most part, it's pretty safe to say that any major religion, geographical, or cultural changes in the area are going to be part of the free portion of the patch that comes with the DLC, and anything major, like of course the struggle system, any of the new 3D work, or the creative assets, those are all part of the DLC. I think the music too, as well as the UI change, is all part of the DLC. And I might be wrong on there, but the struggle system is going to be the main part of it. I just wanted to kind of outline that. So here are some characters you can choose from. And in 1066, Iberia to pieces, everything is the same here. You do have some new customization options with crowns and whatnot, and those will be present here, but this stays ultimately the same. The struggle system is layered into 1066, but it starts at ground zero in both 867 and 1066. So you can't jump into the 1066 start point thinking that you're going to get into a much further portion of the struggle. No, they both start at the same exact point. And I'm going to jump into a playthrough here at 867. And actually we will play as any ruler to just kind of show off that map real quick. But the struggle system will give us a little bit of an introduction right when we start off. And you can see that here is how this is divided up. We have Asturias up here and Navarre, as well as Al-Andalus under Muhammad ibn al-Rahman I. And this is like the beginning of, well, not really necessarily the beginning of the Typhus period. It's like the beginning of the 11th century, but still, you can see that this is now split in between Andalusian, Galician, Asturianese, Castilian, Basque, and Catalan cultures. A little bit different now, and we have the Mozarabic faith. So this is how things are divided up now, and you can choose, of course, to play as the Sultan here, which is a much harder playthrough, or the individual emirates or individual counties thus in. So let's jump ahead into this and take a look now at the struggle system. So here we have the Iberian Struggle. Now, obviously, this is the main focal point of the DLC and what you'll be spending the majority of your time doing, and probably why you would even pick it up to begin with. But the Iberian Struggle starts right when you boot up the game, 867 or 1066, and it tells you some stuff. It kind of gives you some background of what's going on right here. It tells you you're an involved participant in the struggle itself, and it tells you that you are currently in the phase of opportunity. Now, this phase has got effects on war, culture, faith, and then other. Now, from that, let me just go ahead and press take hold, and we'll press this button, and it'll show us our Iberian Struggle panel. So here's our phase, yet again, and from here, we have two different breakouts of this phase into either hostility or conciliation. And to push into either one of these, you have to do any of these acts in this list here or here. And they'll, like hostility, for example, will naturally tick up every year. Yearly drift towards this struggle phase +1. So every year, this will go up. But the cool thing here about every phase is that every phase has different effects. So let's take a look here at opportunity. And this is the really great thing I was talking about, where this is where the struggle breaks the game, breaks the rules of the game. So war effects here allows you to do border raids or unlocked contract assistance, which is a really great way to get involved in a neighbor's war without you having to have an alliance with them. So you can say, hey, I see you're at war. I'll join you, and if we win, you pay me money. And it's usually like 100 gold, 50 gold, depends on which one you negotiate. And I'll show that in just a little second here. But you can also bargain fealty. Mercenary cost is reduced. You can do a... You can fabricate and claim in the struggle region costs prestige instead of gold. Wars within the region cost less prestige. So you can see that this changes the way the game's mechanics work. And this expands into culture with learning languages or converting into the involved cultures. Faith effects. Now this one's huge. Holy wars cannot be declared in the struggle region. This makes it so playing in Al-Andalus or in Hispania pretty much makes it so you can't just rapidly expand using holy wars. And I love that, because typically if you play through this, and you've probably watched, you probably have not watched it, but I did a playthrough in the 1066, it's Castile, and you pretty much can take all of it up using holy wars. This slows your expansion down, and it really makes you have to crawl into individual pockets of this region, and I love it. Then now here's the biggest one, is other effects. Now this is where the game gets completely, not broken, but just it changes the way you play. So just take a look here. Unlocks the abduct, fabricate hook, claim throne, and befriend scheme. Those schemes are things that you would have to get through lifestyle choices. So for example, go to lifestyle, go to diplomacy, befriend. This is the only way you can befriend someone outside of dilemmas and certain things that happen randomly in the game. But the only way to directly get this scheme is through this diplomacy lifestyle choice. But because I'm an involved culture or involved individual, I can right click here and just choose the befriend scheme, which is awesome. I think it's a really cool way to change the way that the game plays in this region. And then that befriending someone then contributes to conciliation. Become either best friends or soulmates with an involved ruler, and it adds 10 to the progress. So again, like I was saying before in the intro, it's very typical to just blitz through a lot of the early game. This is going to slow your progress down. I have one character in my first 8 hours of playthrough I think I have like 300 points towards hostility, maybe that. So you can tell that this is going to be a much slower process. And with that, you get a much more fulfilling process in this region that actually results in something that is, well, fun. So with these two, hostility and conciliation, it will push the phase forward, right? So if we make 1,000 hostility points, the catalyst is what they're called, it changes the effects of the 4 things we talked about before. So now, wars are different. The struggle clash, which is a specific casus belli for this struggle, is cheaper to do. Involved and interlopers, because remember, like I said, you can have interloping characters, and these are characters that push themselves into the struggle by taking territory within the struggle region. An example of this would be France. If France decided to start taking a bunch more regions over here, it would become an interloper, which is very fun and can change the dynamic of the struggle. You can play as a Northern Lords character and go do an adventure down here and become an interloper. So it's a really cool way to jump into this. Also, border raid is a great way to do raids as a Catholic or Muslim character, whereas typically you would have had to have been a character that has raids a part of their culture or religion, which is great. So you get that kind of capability here. And then further off into hostility, we get other as well. Unlocks the claim liege title, the claim throne scheme, but we now lose befriend, abduct, and fabricate hook. So you see how this kind of creates a revolving gameplay where depending upon the phase, you have certain avenues open to you. And if you want to go down a specific lifestyle choice, you can maintain those avenues permanently throughout the rulership of that specific, character or ruler, which I really, 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 really love. It makes playing as an intrigue character even more important because, say, let's see here, reveal secret is part of ways to increase hostility using a hook. So now either fabricating a hook which is naturally part of the opportunity phase, now has actual ramifications in the game as far as pushing the hostility phase forward. And you can use this for intrigue. But if I jump into conciliation and I want to go through diplomacy, becoming best friends, great, I can do that now. Or if I want to go down learning, converting to the local involved culture or faith, because maybe I have a lot of piety stockpiled, allows me to really manipulate the way the game is played, not just for me, but for everyone around me. And this is such a huge, crucial portion of this. Taking a look at conciliation, here's how war works. So now, struggle clash CB is more expensive. Unlocks the Iberian Reclamation CB. So you have a different ways to kind of push this forward. Hybridizing cultures, easier for involved and interloping characters. Other here, so unlocks befriend scheme that stays online, but you cannot execute involved prisoners anymore. Becoming friends with another involved character provides prestige. So you see how this really changes stuff. The befriend scheme power is increased by 50%. All these cool things. And ultimately it comes down to ending decisions. So you've got 3 kind of ending decisions that will then kind of color the remainder of the struggle. And it doesn't necessarily end the struggle because see here, all house members, struggle clash remains available. Other things happen. And this isn't something that's going to happen quickly. It's not 200 years, not 300 years. It'll probably take you a good chunk of time to knock this out. And you can say, hey, I want things just to kind of have a status quo or detente. I think someone told me that's actually pronounced detent. But either way, you have these 3 different outcomes for the overall struggle, and it is really, really, really fun. It shows you the involved faiths and cultures. So, if you're Baranus, like this character is, we don't have any counties here, but we can start to increase our presence here because we're already an involved culture. We can become an interloper like we talked about earlier. And through this Iberian struggle, we have all these fun ways to kind of manipulate the game. So let's kind of go into that real quick. Now that we've talked about the overarching struggle, let's go into some of these quick Iberian struggle interactions, because these are, again, the fabric of the DLC itself. So I'm going to click on the emirate here. I'm going to right click on him, and again, we see all the stuff that we can do. Now, we already talked, about befriend, about murdering and abducting and fabricating hooks. There's nothing new there. But we now have some other additional things we can do. Invite to activity. Invite a ruler from another realm to join you in a feast or a hunt. And then I can say, hey, call a hunt, call a feast, and you can then see, of course, he's not going to accept it because he's my nemesis. So let's maybe just choose here. This guy's related to me. You can see here, called a hunt, called a feast, and the likelihood percent chance of this going through. So if you're trying to maybe garner more support with a specific character, you now have this capability to do it, which I really, really enjoy. Also, you have purchase truce. So negotiate a preemptive truce with the Emir in exchange for gold. So I can give small, medium, or large sums to help increase the likelihood chance of success here, right? So no thanks. Versus this, yeah, okay. And then this locks a truce in for 25 years. So this is basically a way of creating, not necessarily an alliance, obviously, right? He's not going to come to your aid, but it's a way to kind of lock things down and make it so you don't have to deal with as much bullshit from specific characters that you don't want to deal with, which is great. Now, further into this, we get Foment Revolt. Now, I can invest gold to have certain outcomes. So small investment will reduce control growth and popular opinion, but medium investment does this. And then large investment will outright cause a revolt pretty much. So minus 25% development, minus 0.5 growth a month, and popular opinion minus 100. So it's pretty much going to make some action kick off, which is a lot of fun. And I really, really enjoy this ability to kind of interact with people because I find it a lot more fun in the game. Now take a look at these two factions. They are at war. So I can right click on him and do contract assistance. Unfortunately, he's at war with my liege, so I can't. So maybe I can do one with my liege. Cool. So I can offer to join this right here. So if your war contribution is at least 100 when the war ends, he'll pay me 100 gold. So this is a great way to get a lot of gold because there's people around you. You need some gold. Go ahead and do this and you're good to go. So this way of really kind of manipulating the game through all of these nice new decisions is a lot of fun. And I think it makes for a great way to give you an avenue in the game that's not just simply using these decisions and these major decisions. You have little ways to kind of manipulate and play with the things around you, which I very, very, very much enjoy. And with the DLC, or I believe actually this is probably part of the free patch, but just to bring it up, we get 2 new legacies in Metropolitan and Coterie. These things will be giving us bonuses here that will help out with your house or with actually kind of making a taller playthrough, which is pretty fun. And I'm just going to go ahead and hover over these real quick. For anyone that does want to see them, they can go ahead and pause and take a look. But for those that just, hey, you know what, I want to discover it on my own time, my own pace, I'm just going to not talk about every single one of them. But it's a really great way to say, share secrets and whatnot for your house members, or for a way to, like I said, build tall. Because as you've seen, you're not going to be expanding so quickly here in Al-Andalus in the Fate of Iberia DLC. Now, we quickly went over this in the kind of opening portion of the video, but we now have the most Arabic religion that has been created in between the Catholic North and the Muslim South of Al-Andalus. And this gives us a whole new religion to take part of that's kind of split in between both realms. You'll find Mozarabs in the Kingdom of Asturias as well as in Al-Andalus, which is a very fun, different way to kind of play through the game. And it gives you the ability to have differing head of faiths. You get to really choose here, and I like that kind of not necessarily choose your own adventure, but it's a different way to approach this that I really, really enjoy, rather than either just simply Islam or Catholicism. So you do have these ways to kind of go about stuff, right? So you have different doctrines, different marriage doctrines, different tenets, all sorts of things that kind of color a much different playthrough. And on top of that too, we have cultural breakdown that's a little bit different here as well. Andalusian here mainly, and we've talked about the 4, that's 5, I swear I can count, 5 main cultures here in the north. But this allows you to also play with the way some of these have been retooled. Like we get the new Tabletop Warriors, which is for the most part the same, but you can now challenge players in board games like chess that have a whole nice little menu. So if I right click this character, I think I can, I can't challenge him to a board game because he's at war. And that guy is not a bro. So challenge to a board game and say, hey, you know what? We'll challenge to a friendly game of chess. I can even wager portions of the realm off. Like, hey, you know, I'll wager you a county, which is a lot of fun, right? So this starts this mini game where you're in between either martial, intrigue, or learning, and they are a rock, paper, scissors to each other. So it's really much going to come down to the fact that, wait, you know what? I've got an amazing amount of martial, and he doesn't really have any of these really that in a strong position. So I can press a strong sword arm and it says he's starting to win. Okay, well, maybe he's then using learning against me because it says Marshall's, oh, maybe he's using intrigue against me because Marshall is countered by intrigue. So it's a fun way to kind of add another layer to the game. Like we got duels with Northern Lords, so now we get this with the Fate of Iberia DLC, and I absolutely love it. Now, with all of the mechanical things added to the game, we still get a ton of nice little 3D and UI updates to the game as well here. So you can see stuff like the city walls of Toledo have gotten an actual 3D representation. We get the, I think it's, what is this, Tower of Alexander? I can't remember what it's called. Ferum Brigantium, and this is, yeah, the Tower of Alexandria, the sister of the one in Egypt. Also, the city of Lugo, which has the Roman walls of Lugo. We got Cordoba. We can actually see the Great Mosque of Cordoba is right here, which is just awesome. So you get these cool 3D representations across the map. If you're playing as an Andalusian or as, say, even switch character here to Asturias, we can see that you get the new UI, very similar to the way that it was with the Northern Lords, right? But interestingly enough, if I were to switch back to this Baranus character, he has a different UI, right? It's not the new Andalusian one. So certain characters, certain cultures do not benefit from this. And it is kind of worth noting because Baranus is not predominantly part of the massive portion of it. They're over here, they're over here, they're over there. But it seems that only Andalusian gets the advantage of the new UI, but I just wanted to show that off. Also, there's a bunch of new artwork for dilemmas, and there's a bunch of new artwork for certain things that happen. Of course, we took a look at a little bit of it here. You can see it in the background, in little, there we go. These little ending phases. These things have new little artwork too, which is pretty fun, pretty cool. I really, this one expanded out is really great looking. So a lot of nice little changes there, and also, of course, as with any of these DLCs, we get a bunch of new customization options. I don't know, like the Iberian Muslim armor, the Christian armor, pretty much anything that says Iberian in the front here is new. And we get a bunch of new that's hair. Headwear. We get a bunch of new headwear as well that is period appropriate, which is great. It's awesome. It adds a lot more immersion to this playthrough where you feel like you're not just wearing some sort of weird disjointed Western culture, Western European armor that just slapped on from, oh, this looks like French, but I'm in Iberia, I'll deal with it. So a lot of really nice choices and decisions here with that. So wanted to go over those really quick and show that off because it is a huge part of the DLC as well. One of the last things I want to highlight here is the new vassal contract for clans. Now, I believe this will be part of the free patch, but I want to bring it up too because it is just kind of falling into all of this. But we get a update here because in the past, the clan didn't have necessarily a unique set of contracts at all or anything for that matter. So now we get 3 big ones, and I'm going to click on each one of them and we'll take a look at them. So this one here is going to allow for less taxes and levies, but it's going to make it so men-at-arms for myself are cheaper to recruit and their maintenance is lower. Same thing for the vassal. This one as well is going to reduce the levies that the vassal gives me, but it's going to increase the piety as well as, and this is really, really cool, the vassal pays less piety to use Holy War CBs, but more prestige for any other CBs. So it's an awesome way to empower a specific vassal that borders any of the regions that you want them to have Holy Wars and expand your territory on. It's kind of like the march for feudal vassals that typically kind of could go both ways, right? They could end up eating up your own land and your own vassals and killing your own vassals, or hopefully expanding out. So this is a cool way to allow them to do Holy Wars because they're not going to do Holy Wars with same faith. You cannot do that. So it's a really awesome ability. And this last one, you'll get more taxes and levy from the vassal, but the liege commits to marry their close family to seal an alliance before marrying them to anyone else. So kind of a bit of a double-edged sword here if you don't want to marry into that vassal's, or marry someone to that vassal, their kids and whatnot. So a very fun set of new contracts for the clan system in the game. Remember, you have clan, tribal, and feudal. We had tribal overhauls with the Northern Lords DLC, and we are now getting the clan overhaul here as well. So hopefully a further expansion to the clan system I'd love to see, but this is a nice first step, as well as some stuff probably with feudal that will kind of match that. Because now if you look at feudal, we'll switch characters here really quick. If I go to look at the realm and vassals, anything that they can't do is not here. So coinage is not on this list anymore, and Palatine is not, until I actually research the innovation. So I think it's more to kind of reduce clutter and confusion, but that's kind of a nice little change I wanted to talk about, because I always got confused about those until I learned how they unlocked and so on and so forth. So a nice little quality of life change. But let me close this video out by giving you my overall impressions of this, the goods, the bads, everything like that for the Fate of Iberia DLC. So we've gone over pretty much everything now, right? We've talked about the struggle system and how it really changes the game for Fate of Iberia. And we've gone over how that struggle system causes new and different interactions within the game that are exciting and different. And like I said, they kind of change the pace. So I really love that. Now, I think I've said like I love like 50 things so far in this DLC, but it's just how I feel. So to kind of compare this to the other two DLCs we've gotten for CK3, I think Northern Lords was great. Northern Lords was fun, right? We were able to range across over into England and do a lot of damage. And we had the new adventure mechanic that allowed us to, well, adventure and range far out all over the place. Cool, great things, but it didn't change the pace of the game. The game ultimately played exactly the same from pre-Northern Lords and post-Northern Lords. You got some new mechanics layered into it, but like I said, stuff was ultimately the same. The Royal Courts DLC is great because it adds a whole way to change and innovate with your cultures, and you get cool stuff for the actual Royal Court itself with fun, new, exciting stuff. But ultimately, if you were to completely ignore the Royal Court, the game would play pretty much the same. But with the Fate of Iberia DLC, the game does not play the same. You cannot take advantage of stuff like Holy Wars depending upon the phase of the struggle you are in within Iberia. You can take advantage of things you wouldn't normally be able to do through your lifestyle choice. Are you a martial commander that wants to destroy everything in the area, but you know what? Hey, I'll befriend this one vassal. You now have that option, which I really like. Or are you in the hostility phase and your character was learning and trying to not make the hostility phase happen? Well, you're going to have to start patching up some stuff pretty quickly. So I like that the game has ramifications with the struggle system. And the struggle system itself, I'm in the observing mode, unfortunately. I'll come back to this. The struggle system itself, as you can see, you can tally up both hostility and conciliation. And it just depends on which one's leading. And you can see if I hover over it, it shows me all the catalysts of what they're happening and when. Even hover over this just gives me a quick breakdown. So the UI for approaching it is very, very easy to understand, which I like and appreciate because the game can be overly complex sometimes. And I think that the way that it changes the game doesn't add tons of complexity, which I think, again, is huge. It just changes the rules of the existing game, which I really enjoy. Now, as far as the downsides to it, or what I don't like about the DLC, is that it is region specific. It's only going to apply here to Iberia. When we have plenty of these conflicts all throughout the Middle Ages, all throughout the Dark Ages, the High Middle Ages, like a 100 Years War one would have been a really fun and exciting way to do this. And I'm sure Paradox will probably do that, or some modder will do that and create a bookmark for it. Or again, like I was saying, oh shit, Corsair, the Byzantine Empire, which is in shambles, and the Abbasids, having that as a struggle system. Or even Bulgaria and the Byzantine Empire would have been fun. Or even if for 867, we're talking about a struggle between these four and how they kind of all end up swinging things around. Even just looking at the Northern Lords, layering the struggle system into the Northern Lords could have been awesome. So that's my big issue with the DLC, is that it is $7 and it does just make this a really awesome point and place to play in the game. But I think as a result, it makes everywhere else more boring. Everywhere else is not going to benefit from this really awesome system that adds a ton of richness and it adds a ton of immersion. And now if I want to go play West Francia again, I'm like, cool, I'm just going to play a normal feudal lord and just kill everything like I was before. So I think that the DLC is great, but it creates a very interesting predicament in that it levels up this area of the game and seemingly drops the performance of everything else because everything else is just going to feel so bland by comparison. Now, again, to be fair, I have not played anything else other than Iberia, and I do not know what's coming with the free patch. So that might actually include a lot of things that do spice up the other playthroughs. So I do want to be upfront about that and be transparent. And again, I don't know exactly what's coming in that free patch to give us more information on what things might just change from a balance standpoint. So that's kind of my 2 cents in the DLC. I think for $7, it's such a huge value. It just changes the way this game plays so in such a good way without being kind of over the top and overly complex. I think that's kind of like the strong thesis statement for the DLC. If you have played this region to death, I still think it's worth it because it just changes, like I've said like 50 times, the way this region plays in such a good way, and it creates like a nice, good longevity to it where I feel like there's tension throughout the game versus me just, okay, I've broken the game now in the first 100 years of my playthrough. The rest is me just kind of painting the map in the color I want. It's got a really good pacing. It's got a lot of fun attached to it, and I think it's going to add a ton of replayability to this area. If you've not touched this area before, your tits are going to get blown off. But thank you so much for watching here today, guys. If you have any questions about this, by all means, go ahead and let me know in the comment section below. I will be streaming this game on the channel, doing a playthrough of a character from Al-Andalus as we go through a conquest to eventually avenge the Battle of Tours. So you can go ahead and see that live on the channel. I stream Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Saturdays at 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time and 11 a.m. Pacific Standard Time on the weekend. And I'll be doing a giveaway of the DLC, so you can come watch it and then have a chance to win that DLC in the first 2 or 3 of those streams. But again, if you have any questions, go ahead and let me know. I think you now have a good idea that I'm very much in love with this DLC, and I think you will enjoy it as well. But thank you so much for watching here today. Have a good one, and take care.